way we've been doing work and leadership is deeply broken. Whether you're healing from burnout or just looking for a better way to run your company, you're in the right place. What does the future of work even look like? That is a question we get to answer together. After working with thousands of executives and entrepreneurs around the world, I know that the deepest leadership issues are deeply human. We've got to heal ourselves if we want to heal the world. Welcome to the New Self podcast, where each week I'll help you explore topics that will level up your leadership and your life. I'm your host, Nicole Belisle. I'm a leadership expert and Reiki master, and I believe the secret to more conscious work and leadership is self-healing. Grab a seat and get cozy because we're about to go on a journey. I am joined today by a wonderful guest, Karyn Seitz. She is known as the happiness mentor. And today we're going to look at the nuances of what happiness even is. How do we cultivate it within ourselves and stop looking for it externally? Karyn is someone who has done a ton of spiritual seeking and came to realize that the answer wasn't anywhere out there outside of herself. She came to a profound realization that she herself was the problem. She was the constant, and she took responsibility for that. Karyn believes that happiness is a choice that is accessible to all of us to make. Experts like Karyn, who have taken the time to get into the nitty-gritty, to understand the nuance, can help us all fast track our insights. She will be sharing insights today that could take years, if not a lifetime, to understand. And we get to learn that from her now. Throughout the episode, I invite you to tune into your unique definition of these concepts, because ultimately you're in the driver's seat of your life, of your success and happiness. And Karyn is going to help you stay in that driver's seat. Without further ado, let's dive into the episode. Karyn, I'm so excited to share space with you and have this conversation today. Thank you so much for being on the New Self podcast.
Thank you for having me, Nicole. It's really nice to be here, and I look forward to the conversation we're going to have.
Likewise. I know that you have been on a really incredible journey of self-seeking, spiritual seeking, and you're known as a happiness mentor. So what's your story? How did you go from kind of questioning the definition of success to being a happiness mentor? Because that's a really interesting title that you're embodying here.
Well, my journey really started very much like others, where in my adult life, I got trapped in the pursuit of happiness. And what happened is I was looking to people and things to make me happy. And I was looking to a spiritual journey to make me happy. And all the while, I was chasing and checking the boxes of the things that I thought would make me happy. So, getting a degree, starting a business, getting married, becoming a yoga teacher, becoming a Reiki master, becoming a meditation teacher, becoming a shamanic healer and practitioner, starting a healing practice. All these things under the guise of thinking, if I do this next thing, then I'll finally feel complete, then I'll finally feel whole, then I'll finally be happy in my life. Yet what ended up happening was I just kept seeking. I just kept chasing, because those things never actually worked to make me happy. Because one thing that we all know, whether we know how to apply it in our lives or not, but what we all know is that no one and no thing can make you happy, that happiness is an inside job. But I had no path and no way to know how to actually cultivate that happiness within myself. And everything I was doing wasn't working. The books I was reading weren't working. Yoga wasn't working. Reiki wasn't working. Meditation wasn't working. And I found myself in my early 30s still feeling very insecure, very much in a facade of making it look like I had it all together, but feeling like a mess inside. And many areas of my life still looked like a mess. And I started to question, like, is this it? Like, is this going to be my life? Is this what it's going to look like? And feeling very much like, what's the point? And then, very fortunately, I met my mentors, who really helped me to start to build a relationship with myself and to teach me what that actually looks like. And through that process, I was able to find a direct path to cultivating inner happiness, which is how I became the happiness mentor.
Amazing. I love what you're illuminating here around happiness being an inside job, right? Because I think there is such a trap in thinking that that comes from somewhere outside of us. And even if we present as being really successful, I know that myself as well, in times when I on the outside have looked like I had it together or looked like things were going really well, there still can be that imposter syndrome within of, wait a minute, I'm supposed to be happy. I should, there's that word should, be happy with all of these things. So were you experiencing this same version of not being enough, or what
Mhm.
did that look like inside as you were recognizing, wait a minute, I'm here with all of these external successes, and
Mhm.
something is still off. Drop us into what that really felt like.
Mhm. Well, it really dives into understanding the experience of being unhappy and recognizing that our very human pursuit of happiness is a big, big red flag that we are actually unhappy. Because when we are happy, we stop seeking. And the very fact that I was continuing to seek in almost a desperation of finding the next thing that I thought would make me feel okay in my life was the very trap that I was spinning in that kept me feeling not enough, that kept me feeling empty on the inside, lost, confused about who I was. I often share that I felt like a little girl trapped inside a woman's body and needing to pretend to be confident, needing to wear this mask and facade to the outside world to make me feel that I was okay. I looked to people to tell me what to do in my life, whether that was therapists, books, healers, friends, family. I was looking for all my answers outside of me, um, which left me with a complete inability to trust myself or believe in myself to make choices, to think for myself, and to navigate my life as an adult woman, and really feel like I knew how to do life, and I didn't. And that was really the internal experience, which everything I just shared, Nicole, is the internal experience of being unhappy. And it stems from this place of always wanting what we don't have, thinking once I get this, whether it's an achievement or an accolade or letters behind our name or a degree or a marriage or kids, whatever it is we think is going to give us that um, experience or status of success, that's in that trap of the pursuit of happiness and being unhappy, which I define being unhappy as always wanting what I don't have. And when we live in that experience, that's where we have that internal um, insecurity and constant doubt in ourselves that I just described, which is what I was living in constantly, um, on a path of seeking, on a path of trying to find happiness, on a path of trying to find myself, and coming up short every single time.
Thank you so much for illuminating that core or root cause of the self-doubt in all of this, because I think often when we're feeling that void within of, to your definition of being unhappy, right? Like
Mhm.
always wanting what we can't have, always in that chase, that is such a it's almost celebrated in the entrepreneurial world, right? To keep chasing the
Mhm.
thing, grow the business, make it bigger, rise in the ranks, like be the best version of yourself. All these ideals that we get sold or conditioned into, and then when we don't achieve it, there's just that unhappiness that can really settle in. So how did you pull yourself out of this? What
Mhm.
ultimately were some of the practices or the mindset shifts that led you to start to rewire a bit and
Mhm.
find happiness?
Well, really, I had to have an awakening. I really first had to, and with the help of my mentors, because I was so stuck in my own stories that I would have told you while I was in my path and doing all the things I was doing in my own delusion of myself and trying to protect myself from being exposed from what was really going on. I really believed that I was happy. I really believed I had it together. I really believed I was on this great path for myself. But my external world reflected something very different to me. And fortunately, meeting my mentors is where I had the opportunity to really have an inner awakening that shifted my perspective in a way that was transformational and life changing. And they really taught me how to be honest with myself, because as I was stuck in my stories of what I thought my life was, of who I thought I couldn't see clearly where I was really at and what was going on with me in my life. So the moment of having this internal awakening, the big aha was really seeing that I was the problem in my life, that everything else I had been doing to try to figure myself out, not to mention our culture, our family, friends, all unknowingly reinforced and enabled me to put the power and control outside of me, and to believe that it was my past, that it was my upbringing, that it was my failed relationships, that it was my husband, that it was all these things outside of me that I have no control over to change, which kept me going around in circles. So to have a moment of awakening, to recognize and see that I was the problem in my life, was a turning point for me to actually start to connect with myself. And what I had to see in hindsight was that everything else I had been doing, thinking I was connecting with myself, actually kept me disconnected. Because in my spiritual path, I was always trying to become some supreme version of myself, some higher version of me, or some enlightened version of me. I didn't want to be Karyn. I wanted to be something much grander and much more than Karyn and myself. So there was no connection to me. It wasn't until I could see myself as the problem in my life that I could actually begin to move forward and see the choices and decisions I was making that kept me feeling really bad about myself, that kept me always chasing and seeking and wanting what I didn't have, being unhappy.